The most effective counteroffensive may be to convince them, by deeds, not promises, that the government is their friend, their benefactor, and is worth fighting for. The best way to accomplish this is by practical assistance in their daily struggle for existence. In a word, by compassion. The nature of the actions and the motivations are humanitarian, but they have very definite military applications as well. This is the backdrop against which American soldiers are demonstrating their heroism in Vietnam. Some of these, like Captain Donlon, accomplish deeds which make their own names part of the history they are writing. All have seen the face of the war the enemy wages, and out of their experience have looked beyond it and glimpsed the truth of what is at stake in this tortured land. Perhaps their story and their feelings are best conveyed by another U.S. soldier, Captain James Polk Spruill, who died a soldier's death on a mountain road in Vietnam, and whose story is told in this reenactment. In letters he wrote to his wife before he died, he put it all down as he saw it. It is a soldier's testament, but one of compelling importance to all his countrymen. From the beginning, he felt a sympathy which grew quickly into fondness for the Vietnamese. The people here are poor, and the land is poor, he wrote. Strange war, strange land, but wonderful people. But if the Vietnamese villagers intrigued Spruill's attention, it was the soldier with whom he became most familiar and who drew his warmest responses.
It is a privilege to work with the Vietnamese soldier. Well, it's frustrating at times, but he's the most genuine and warm human I've met. Simple, humble, willing, and warm. If the press judges them harshly at times, it would be well to remember that they have had their independence only 9 years. It was brought to my attention last night that we were once inadequately equipped and poorly trained, and that professional soldiers came from afar to aid the fledgling American Army in its fight for freedom and internal order. 2 of these advisors are well known, von Steuben and Lafayette. It is heartwarming to think of sacrifice fostered by those 2 men when they aided a nation in need.
Experiences which warm the heart are never far removed from those which break the heart in the agony of war.
Right now, I find it hard to think of anything. Yesterday, I helped patch up 4 children who had been burned by a white phosphorus mine laid by the Viet Cong. One was a little girl. We bandaged her punctured and severely burned little body. Her little eyes were burned shut, her nose and lips, and the skin over her entire body. And every time the embedded bits of phosphorus were exposed to the air, the poor little thing screamed. I was the only one the people would turn to. Indeed, could turn to. We wrapped the children in our blankets to keep the air off the phosphorus and then took them to Vinh Long. A long, dusty ride. The little girl amazed me because she was still alive when we got there. She was put in a chopper and taken to Can Tho. I don't know how she is, but I can guess. When I got back in the late afternoon, I went to the area where the children lived. All at once, people came from everywhere and surrounded me. I told them what I could about the children. And suddenly, all of them lay down in the dirt at my feet in the most heartwarming demonstration of thanks I've ever experienced. I shall never forget that. And I shall never forget that poor, tortured little girl who had nothing but me. And I was so inadequate. I must stop now, and in a couple of days, the sun will shine again for me.
And of course, the sun did shine again. There were many moments of warmth and cheer.
What a day I had yesterday. It was more social than usual, and I ate some things you wouldn't believe. I had octopus and dried bananas. How's that for a real combination? Last night, I taught the doctor, Lieutenant Han, and Lieutenant Hung to play casino, and you have never seen anyone more thrilled. They loved it with a passion. You should hear them. Sounds like a Chinese fire drill. You can't imagine the comradeship and gratitude of these men when an American stands with them through danger. It seems to bring heart to them. You could see it in their faces. But when they get wounded, no matter how bad it may be, you never hear so much as a whimper. Strange, but strangely logical for a people who have never been far removed from the raw facts of life and death.
The days moved fast for Captain Spruill. He was heartened at the progress that was being made in his training program, and his own commitment was growing deeper all the time. I grow more attached to them every day now, he wrote of the Vietnamese soldiers. And again, he referred to them as the many friends whose lives and fortunes I have been privileged to share. Captain Spruill had his times of doubt and discouragement.
I must admit there are many moments of frustration in Vietnam, but that is exactly why we are here. It is exactly in places and circumstances such as this that communism gains its foothold. Communism is the scavenger of the upheaval that comes with a modernization process in the age of rising expectations. Sometimes we're ready to say the hell with it. But then there are other times. A few nights ago, I went out on a night ambush with a group I had been out with before and with whom I had developed quite a rapport. The only trouble I had with them was to get them to quiet down. They were all over me. The leader of the group was amazed that I would share my water with him. Nothing was too good for the Dai Wei, which is their word for captain. They even put straw in the ground where my position would be. Ambushes require much patience, and one can get most uncomfortable after 11 hours of not moving. So the straw was quite welcome. My position was smack in the middle of a pig pen. What a stench. When morning came, the damn pig was right there with me. The eastern sky was magnificent. I'd never seen it so blood red, and I could almost hear music as I looked into its spacious beauty. As I walked out of my pig pen, I realized that I was walking into an Easter morning sunrise. Much sweat, and I'm afraid much blood, remain to be shed. Progress will not be dramatic. It will in fact be painfully slow. One of our biggest enemies now will be impatience and despair in America itself. I feel that there's too much talk of despair. Above all, this is a war of mind and spirit, and it is a war which can be won no matter what the present circumstances are. For us to despair would be a great victory for the enemy. We must stand strong and unafraid and give heart to an embattled and confused people. This cannot be done if America loses heart. At the moment, my heart is big enough to sustain those around me. Please don't let them back where you are sell me down the river with talk of despair and defeat. Talk instead of steadfastness, loyalty, and of victory, for we must and we can win here. There is no backing out of Vietnam, for it will follow us wherever and everywhere we go. We have drawn the line here, and the America we all know and love best is not one to back away.
In one of his earliest messages, Captain Spruill wrote, "I am where my destiny has led me." That destiny was to be a sad and cruel one. Death lay waiting on the road he traveled with such deep convictions and towering honor. But before he left it, he illuminated that road well and clearly, and his nation is the richer for his service and for the testament of faith he left behind him, which speaks for all the men who stand at freedom's frontiers in Vietnam today.